guys, welcome to Get Busy Watching. I'm your host, Honest Dan. Let's talk movies.
Relax, be cool, cause if you don't, you'll act like a fool, so be cool.
I'm not interested in a Black Widow movie. And never was. For those new to my channel, let's get this out of the way. As far as the MCU is concerned, I've never cared about Black Widow. As far as I cared, she was the chick in the Avengers. Yeah, okay, she was pretty cool in Winter Soldier, but that was such a great movie that it did just about everyone a level of justice. But before and after that, I never cared about Black Widow. I care even less about the actress portraying her, Scarlett Johansson. Every time she says something stupid, I try to put some time behind it and move on from being a hater. But all of a sudden, she has a problem with playing a sexy character who was meant to be sexy and has played countless characters throughout her career, before and after the MCU, that were sexy. Each and every one of them she could have said no to. But I guess I'm in the minority, because here we freaking are. Fans of ScarJo, rejoice. Haters of ScarJo, like myself, here's to us. This'll be the last time I name drop Scarlett. I'm already going into this with a bias against both her and her character. So I have to be excited for the talent around her. And honestly, I kind of am. There's a lot to be excited for. I love Florence Pugh, I love David Harbour, and I love Rachel Weisz. So let's get into it. This is my honest opinion of Black Widow. Yelena Belova, played by Florence Pugh, is a widow assassin working for the elusive Red Room. She tracks down her latest target, a former widow, and kills her, but not before the former widow exposes Yelena to a substance called red dust, which releases her from the Red Room's control and goes rogue. Taking the remaining vials of red dust, she sends them to her surrogate older sister Natasha Romanoff at one of her safe houses, trekking back to her home in Budapest, and is reunited with Yelena. Despite their reluctance to work together, they decide they have to find the elusive Red Room HQ, but know they can't do it without the help of their surrogate parents, former Red Guardian Alexei, played by David Harbour, and a former widow herself, Melina, played by Rachel Weisz.
So we're gonna talk like grown-ups? Is that what we are?
Not the train wreck that I was expecting, but it's still not my favorite in the MCU. We'll start small and pretty petty. I have been online remorsefully for the past week, and I have been exposed to the word family over and over and over and freaking over again. As you can imagine, my patience for this word has been worn down to the nub. So when you have a Black Widow movie that prattles on about family, now I'm just clawing at the walls with my bloodied fingers. I get it. It's not about blood relation. It's not about how well you get along. It's about the lessons that taught you how to be stronger and a better person, and connections that bond you to each other from shared experiences. Jeez, heavy-handed Disney themes much? Not that I was expecting this to be some dark and gritty early DCEU type of flick, but for a movie with underscores of familial abuse and manipulation, generally considered to be pretty serious stuff, this movie loves to remind us about the importance of family. The tone just feels all over the place and can't seem to find equilibrium.
Seeing as our family construct was just a calculated ruse that only lasted 3 years, I don't think that we can use this term anymore, can we?
But my biggest problem with this movie is that it reminds me a little too much of Captain Marvel, in that all this movie really is an amalgamation of other movies. And not just any other movies, but other MCU movies. Long-winded rant ahead. Just a heads up. One of my biggest criticisms of Captain Marvel was how wholly unoriginal it felt. Taking place in outer space, even reusing Ronan the Accuser, Guardians of the Galaxy. The hero falls to Earth and has to learn about herself to be better than she used to be, Thor. A movie that doesn't take place in the modern day, Captain America. It tries to combine all these features into a single movie and doesn't do any of them better or even on par. Black Widow is much the same. Though I guess give this credit, it steals from just one movie as opposed to 3, Winter Soldier. Though I guess you could argue that makes it worse considering I love Winter Soldier. Mysterious, masked villain with deep personal ties to the protagonist's past. Lots of badass fisticuff fight scenes, explosive car chases, protagonists trying to uncover conspiracy within the very place they work or worked for, dealing with a top secret organization that seems to have complete control over the world at large. And a climax that takes place on a big flying thing that inevitably explodes and plummets to the earth. It's almost paint by numbers. Here's the problem. It doesn't do any of what Winter Soldier did any better and isn't even an equal. The hand-to-hand combat has too many quick cuts to appreciate the choreography, a personal pet peeve of mine when it comes to action films. Maybe 1 or 2 good hits are delivered, but it's not nearly in the same league as the high-octane and visceral action scenes of Winter Soldier. While I won't give anything away in terms of Taskmaster, the reveal of who this isn't a surprise, or doesn't leave you with any shock that profoundly changes the game. With Steve and Bucky, this reveal was a big deal, because we saw their friendship firsthand in First Avenger. Bucky's supposed demise was legit heartbreaking, and to see him come back as a bad guy who doesn't remember who he is, or Steve, you fully understand Steve's personal dilemma in fighting him. The same idea can be applied to Hydra and their takeover of S.H.I.E.L.D. and having sleeper agents on standby. We know Hydra. Their sheer effectiveness in dismantling S.H.I.E.L.D. from the inside out was utterly brilliant and anger-inducing. We get none of this in Widow. The Red Room may have been referenced once in the worst of the Avengers movies, and maybe we got a brief glimpse into what Natasha's life was like way back when, but that won't leave the same impact as an entire movie. I feel nothing for the Red Room's influence and manipulation of children because we don't see that firsthand. And unlike Hydra, we don't know what Red Room's done. So, how am I expected to hate Red Room? Simply because it tells me it brainwashes young girls? I'm not buying it, y'all, and the very crux of this movie is hindered on this idea. Exposition dumps are cute and all, but lest I remind screenwriters out there, motion pictures are a visual medium. If I have to dumb it down to a primate level, show, don't tell.
To go to the Red Room and kill Dreykov?
Yeah.
Even though the Red Room is impossible to find and Dreykov is too slippery to kill?
But let's get into the positives, of which there are a few saving graces worth pointing out. While I think the try-hard comedy coming out of Red Guardian can be a little hit or miss at times, it would be a flat-out miss if David Harbour wasn't such a competent actor. He has just the right believable mannerisms of a Russian prisoner, in a comedy movie anyway, with how he mocks those that he defeats in arm wrestling, how he tries to fit into his old Guardian outfit claiming that it still fits.
It still fits.
Oh my god.
And even this little tender moment of him looking fondly at his own action figure made me chuckle. Look at that. He's like a little kid. It's so adorable. I don't know if adorable should be an adjective used to describe Red Guardian, but hey, when you put a moment like this on the big screen, you reap what you sow.
Bye, Miss America. Bye.
The biggest positive that I have for this movie should be no surprise, yet it still baffles me how much she carries this movie for me. Florence. She is my favorite actress in this thing, and Yelena is my favorite character. It should be no secret that Florence Pugh is my favorite thing to come out of 2017, thanks to her little-known and seen masterpiece of hilarious cinema, Lady Macbeth. Since then, she's done nothing but make me more intrigued with what she does. To see her part of the MCU, even a subpar one, of course, she'd be the reason to see it at all. I don't know how many people share my sentiments, but that's how I feel. To make matters even better, her natural talent isn't the only thing that's good. Yelena is a well-rounded character that's just the right kind of goofy, and Florence's delivery was reliable enough to get a solid chuckle out of me. More than that, Yelena is allowed to be emotional, badass, making her the complete package. I would say this is sad given that she's supposed to be a support character, but in this flick that I didn't have the highest hopes for, both Florence and Yelena proved to be the only redeeming element to the movie.
I like your vest.
I knew it. I knew you did. It's so cool, right?
It's good. Yes.
And you can put so much stuff in there. You wouldn't even know.
This has redeeming moments, I won't lie about that. Compared to the likes of Captain Marvel, this is a little easier to digest. Like I said, the support characters carry the film a lot better than the primary protagonist. But with all that said, all this really is a diet Winter Soldier. So to all of you who wanted a Black Widow movie, I hope you guys are satisfied. I genuinely mean that. But for me, Black Widow was never an interesting character. I never would have asked for a solo outing with her, and ultimately what we do get is pretty lackluster, unoriginal, and I just don't care. My honest rating for Black Widow, a 3 out of 5.
Not a poser.
Oh, come on. I mean, they're great poses, but it does look like you think everyone's looking at you, like, all the time.
All that time that I spent posing.
Thanks so much for watching, you guys. I really appreciate it. Have a great day. Stay safe and healthy out there. Hope to see you soon. One final caveat as you guys move on with your day. I've decided to test my luck at a Patreon, so please consider supporting the channel. No obligations, of course, no content is gated off, but any and all contributions would mean a lot. Link in the description. Have a great one, folks.